All right, let's dive in something that's been uh, generating a lot of buzz online. Yeah,
Was.
manifestation. We're going deep into a Reddit thread that asks the
Yeah.
question, is manifestation real?
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah, and what's really cool is this thread. It's not just a bunch of yeses or nos.
Yeah.
It's like a whole mix of personal stories, philosophical debates,
Right.
even some skepticism.
It's like a little snapshot of how society views this whole thing.
Exactly. We've got people sharing these wild stories like, it totally worked. And then others are like,
Yeah.
show me the scientific proof.
Right, right.
But it's interesting, even the skeptics, they seem kind of intrigued,
Oh yeah, for sure.
like by the idea of it,
Totally. It speaks to that deep down desire to
Yeah.
have control
Yeah,
over our lives.
totally. Okay, so let's unpack
Yeah.
some of these arguments from the believers.
Okay.
Why do they think manifestation works?
Well, a lot of them in this thread are echoing this concept of like attracts
Okay.
so like a positive mindset
Yep.
is gonna supposedly draw positive outcomes.
Right.
They talk about aligning your thoughts and your actions with your desires.
So it's not just like wishing on a star, you got to actually do something.
Exactly. And then some users brought up The Secret, that book,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
which really emphasized the law of attraction.
Right, but even with action,
Yeah.
some of these stories are pretty out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like that user, Jamble Studios,
Yes.
manifesting a job
Right.
through a friend they'd helped out.
Interesting.
It was like a karmic payback or something.
Yeah, I think it's a really good example of how belief and action kind of intertwine. They helped their friend, putting out that good energy.
Yeah.
And then maybe coincidentally, maybe not,
Yeah.
the job opportunity just appears through that connection.
Makes you think,
Right.
does putting good out into the world, does it circle back?
It's fascinating.
But of course, we can't ignore the other side.
The skeptics?
They're not buying it so easily, right?
Not really.
What are they saying?
A lot of them are pointing to the lack of scientific evidence.
Okay, so like, show me the data.
Yeah. Where are the studies that prove just thinking something makes it happen?
Right, because it's not like you can run a lab experiment
Right.
on pure willpower.
It's hard to measure,
Yeah.
quantify those subjective experiences.
Right.
And, they bring up confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias.
You tend to notice and remember things that confirm what you already believe.
Also, like, if I'm convinced it works,
Right.
I'm only going to focus on the times it worked, not when it didn't.
Exactly. So it's hard to know, is it really manifestation or just our brains filtering information?
Yeah, makes it tricky.
And then there's that big question that always comes up.
You mean the one, why bad things happen to good people?
Exactly. If we can manifest anything,
Yeah.
why is there suffering?
Right, several people in the Reddit thread brought that up.
Like, if it's so powerful,
Yeah.
why do kids get sick? Why are people homeless?
It does challenge the idea that we have complete control over everything.
It's a tough one.
It really is. Makes you wonder, is there a middle ground? Somewhere between blind faith and total skepticism.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because some people were saying maybe what we call manifestation is just stuff we already know works.
Okay, I like that. Break that down for me.
So think about it. Setting a clear goal,
Uh-huh.
working towards it, that's a recipe for success, whether you believe in a cosmic force or not.
Right.
And the placebo effect,
Mm.
proven phenomenon, beliefs impacting our physical and mental states.
So even if it's not magic, those elements,
Right.
the intention, the action, the belief,
Yes,
could still play a role.
absolutely. And you can't deny the benefits of positive thinking.
Right.
Even if it doesn't directly change external events, it impacts resilience, motivation, well-being.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's kind of where the individual comments, they really shine,
Yeah.
giving these glimpses into how people are really dealing with this stuff.
Oh, I love that. Give me some of those Reddit gems.
Okay, so one user, Shuffle Step Tap, they said, there's not enough winning lotto tickets for manifestation to work.
Uh-huh. I love that.
Right.
So simple, but so true. If we could all just manifest wealth,
Right.
wouldn't everyone be winning the lottery all the time?
Exactly. It highlights that, statistical improbability
Yeah.
of everyone getting what they want just through willpower, chance, and circumstance. Those still matter.
It's not like the universe is handing out winning tickets to anyone who just, thinks about it.
Definitely not. And then another user, typical impact 10058.
Okay.
They bring up confirmation bias.
Yeah.
They said, never have any claims of the supernatural held up to scrutiny.
Oh, interesting.
Like, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence,
Right.
which manifestation often lack.
It's like when people say they saw a ghost, right?
Uh-huh.
Hard to prove without something more than just, I saw it.
Exactly. And it all ties back to that confirmation bias.
Right.
If you're already a believer,
Yeah.
any spooky sound, any weird shadow, that's evidence, even if there's a simpler explanation.
Right. So with manifestation,
Yeah.
are we seeing what we want to see, not what's really there?
That's what the skeptics are saying.
Hmm.
And then there's terrible attitude, who throws in another layer.
Okay.
They say, wishing and hoping doesn't make things happen. People latch onto this to avoid responsibility, victim blame, and avoid concepts like cause and effect that make their tiny brains hurt.
Wow. Okay, strong words.
Right.
But that point about responsibility,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Is manifestation a way to avoid putting in the work?
So maybe it's not about denying the power of positive thinking,
Right.
but finding that balance
Yeah.
between believing in something bigger and taking ownership
I like that.
of our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where some other comments offer a different view.
Huh?
Like Servitor Dali, they compare learning manifestation to riding a bike.
Ooh, okay.
You can only bring them so far with words and examples, and then they just have to wobble their way into it.
I love that analogy.
Right.
It suggests there's an experience to it.
Yeah.
Something you can't learn from a book or, a podcast.
Exactly. It's like that click moment, suddenly you get it.
Yeah.
Maybe manifestation works that way.
Mm-hmm.
You understand the idea, but there's a personal element of figuring it out.
Which brings us back to that evidence thing.
Yeah.
If it's so personal,
Right.
how do you measure it? How do you prove it?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Makes me think about how we approach evidence in general.
Hmm.
Do we only accept what science can prove? Or are there other ways of knowing?
It's like that saying.
Yeah.
Science is great at explaining how, but not so good at explaining why.
Exactly. And then we have PK Pikoshka asking the tough question. If manifestation was a real thing, do you think children's cancer centers would be in no danger of shutting down due to lack of patience?
Whoa.
Yeah, that one kind of stops you.
It really does. Makes you face the limits, right?
Yeah.
When you think about real suffering.
Even with the most positive mindset, sometimes life throws you a curveball.
And you can't just, manifest it away.
Right. It brings up those big questions.
Yeah.
Free will, fate, things we can't control.
It also makes you think about compassion,
Yes.
even if we believe it for ourselves. You got to acknowledge other people's pain.
Absolutely.
Not dismiss it by saying they didn't manifest the right things.
It's a reminder the world's complex.
Yeah,
No easy answers.
Yeah. So where do we go from here?
Hmm.
We've got these passionate believers,
Yeah.
these hardcore skeptics.
And everyone in between.
What's your take on all of this?
I think this thread shows us that it's not a simple yes or no. It's multifaceted, lots of different meanings.
It's about individual experiences, personal beliefs,
Yeah.
how we see our own lives.
Exactly. And the debate about whether it's real, that might go on forever. But what matters is the conversation it starts.
Yeah.
It makes us examine our beliefs about the mind, about reality, about our own actions.
It's like manifestation, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah.
It makes you think deeper about how we want to live.
It's a catalyst for self-reflection.
It's funny, even after all this talk about the Reddit thread,
Yeah.
it feels like we've only just, dipped our toes in
Oh, yeah, totally.
this whole manifestation thing.
So many different avenues.
Right. Like, we've talked about belief and action.
Psychology, ethics.
Oh, the ethics, that's another thing that came up.
Yeah.
This whole idea of manifestation as a business,
Right.
people selling quick fixes.
Like VN321 said it's become a cult.
Oh, wow.
Taking the good parts, the positivity, self-care,
Yeah.
twisting it into something that can actually trap people.
Makes you think, does that take away from what it's supposed to be?
Maybe the real power is in that personal journey,
Yeah.
Not relying on gurus or products.
So maybe that's the big takeaway here. It's not about finding the right answer.
Right.
It's about using it to look inward.
Ask yourself, what do I believe?
Yeah.
Why do I believe it? How does it affect my life?
So as we wrap up, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on manifestation?
Did any of these comments resonate?
Head over to our YouTube channel, Shauna Pelage.
Leave a comment on the video.
Let's keep the conversation going.
For sure.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive,
Yeah.
subscribe to Voices of the Soul wherever you get your podcasts.
New episodes every week.
exploring all sorts of mind-bending topics.
Keep those minds open.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.